Hey everyone. Today we're looking at section 1.4 solving equations. So this one says circle the equations. It's a review here. If you remember, equation has to have that equal sign. So I see an equal sign. Voila! It is an equation. Done. No equal sign. That means it's an expression. So not an equation. And voila! This one is also an equation. And no equal sign here. Okay. So for vocabulary, we have inverse operations. That's what we use to solve equations. So inverse operations undo each other. So if you see a -2 and a +2, they are inverses of each other and they sort of cancel out. So the opposite or inverse operation of adding 7 would be to subtract 7. If you're subtracting 4, then the opposite would then be to add 4. If we're dividing by 5, the opposite of that is multiplying by 5. And then if we are multiplying by 3, then we would divide by 3. Okay? That's all that was. Again, there is more vocabulary after having you guys memorize like the associative and commutative and inverse and identity properties. I'm not going to make you memorize these, okay? That's enough. Let's go on to the next. Again, this is just more of those vocab words, which we are not going to memorize, so we're skipping. They really wanted us to talk about these inverse operations, but I'm just going to let's just solve an equation. Why have to memorize all this vocab, right? So we are skipping, okay? And we're going right down to problem 1. Here we go. 12b equals 18, okay? Again, they're getting a little fancy. Let's just solve it. How about we just solve this, okay? We've seen stuff like this before in Algebra 1. Hopefully we want to get the variable by itself, and you recognize that the 12 squished up against it means there's an invisible multiplication dot. So the opposite of multiply is to divide. And again, I'm going to use fractions. Try not to use that old school, don't use that little divide by symbol. Try to not do that. Make a fraction. 12 over 12 simplifies to 1. They cancel. We're left with just a b on the left side equals whatever 18 over 12 is. Doesn't go fully, but they're both divisible by 6, I think. So 6 goes into 18 3 times, and then 6 goes into 12 2 times. So it turns into 3 halves. Okay? And we don't need to worry about that was I don't know, some sort of weird property, we just divided, it was the opposite, they canceled out. We got our variable by itself. Okay? All right, next one. A little bit fancier equation. So, they want us to use those vocabulary words here and write them down. We're just going to skip that. Let's just talk about solving this equation. So, numbers in front of parentheses. Most of the time, your guts probably says to use the distribute property, and that would be true most of the time. So here, looks like we are going to distribute not once but twice. So if you multiply the 3 inside, 3 times 2x is now 6x, and 3 times -1 is -3. Now when you distribute this one in, you have to be careful because this is not a positive 2, that's a -2. So this is -2 times 3x is -6x. Again, you just multiply the numbers together and it keeps the x as sort of like a label. Then -2 times 4 is -8, and that takes care of everything on the left-hand side, okay, for distributing. Now you combine like terms, you can see that the 6x and the -6x can combine to be, well, 0, so they just go away, and you add the -3 and the -8 together to get -11. So only one thing left to do here. Again, we have no more variables on the left side, but we still have an x on the right to take care of. That needs to get by itself by dividing by 11, and we get x equals -1 as the final answer. Okay? So, take your time. If you've got multiple x's, you will have to combine them. If you're solving for x, you have to get one x somewhere. Doesn't really matter which side of the equal sign it is, but you have to combine them all, get them all on one side. If there was some x's left over on the left side here, we would have to add them over, or maybe subtract the 11 over. Okay. Word problem. So the carpet on the right side here has a perimeter of 320 feet. What are the dimensions of the carpet? So if x is the width here, and then just looking at the picture, I see 3x is the length. Okay, it's x by 3x. So the formula of a perimeter of a rectangle, this is always a formula. There's two widths, so if you add them together, that's 2w, and there's two lengths. If you add those together, that's 2l. Add them all up, that's the perimeter, all the way on the outside. So write an equation. So we have the width is actually being called x here, so the perimeter equals 2x. Okay, it was 2w, but now it's 2x plus 2, and now L is actually 3x. I want to use a parenthesis here just so it's not 2 and a 3. It's not 23. It's 2 times 3x. So that is like the general formula here for this perimeter. They actually want us to solve for x. We're going to have to make sure now we plug in this 320 feet for P. That's the total perimeter. So P is 320 equals 2x plus, I'm going to simplify this. This 2 times 3x is actually 6x. And solve for x. So we can combine these. These are like terms here. We have 8x. 2 plus 6 is 8. And divide both sides by 8. And I think that goes in fully. I believe it goes in 40 times. So x equals 40. So that means that's the width, right? X is the width. So the width is 40 feet. And the carpet is 3 times that is 3x. So 40 times 3 is 120. And we're done. So if this is x, this is 3x, essentially saying whatever this is, whatever the width is, the length is 3 times it. For this perimeter to be 320, that means this is a 40 by 120 foot carpet here. That's a big carpet actually. Okay. Problem 4. Is the equation always, sometimes, or never true? So if you solve an equation and you just get the answer like x equals, I don't know, 3, like you solved it, this is considered a sometimes true. Okay, this is a sometimes true. Like, x has to be 3 for it to be true. If x is not 3, then it's not true. For an always true, you get the same thing on the left and right side. So if you end up with like 0 equals 0, well, that's always true. If you got, 2x equals 2x, that's always true. It's the same thing. So if you ever get the same thing on both sides, that is always true. And then if you get two totally different things, like if you got 1 equals 2, 0 equals 3, these things are never true, right? So these would be never, what did I say here? Never true. Okay? Regular answer is sometimes. Same exact thing on both left and right as always. Definitely like totally different numbers on the left and right. Never true. Okay. So we need to simplify this until we kind of get the general idea what's happening here. So we can combine the 7x and the negative 4x to get 3x plus 6. And then we can combine the 12 with the minus 8 to get a 4 on the right. Okay. I usually like to get all of my variables on one side. So I can see if we subtract 3x to both sides, all of our x's are going to cancel, leaving just 6 on the left equals 4 on the right. That does not make any sense. This is never true. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next one, the very last page here on the home stretch. Let's see what it says. This is called the literal equation. If you ever hear me say literal equation, it's equation that has multiple variables. You can't really solve it, right? You're not going to get an answer like a equals 3. You know, we're not getting answers like this for literal equations. We're getting answers like, well, s equals 3f minus 24. You know, there's still variable. There's too many variables to just have one variable equals a number. It's not going to happen. So we do our best to just isolate the variable we want. So right now, if I told you to solve for s, there's nothing to do, right? S is by itself. This equation is solved for s. So usually we're going to say, well, what if we want to solve for f? Get f by itself. So then you want to get everything away from it like you normally would, and you just have an s chilling on the other side. So what is f in terms of s? Again, that's just a fancy way of saying solve for f. That's what this means. What is f in terms of s? Meaning, what is f equal to if you've got an s on the other side of the equal sign? What two operations will we undo? Well, I see a 3 being multiplied, so we gotta get rid of the 3 times there. And then we have to get rid of this minus 24. Okay? So I'm just going to rewrite the original. S equals 3f minus 24. Now, you could get rid of the 3 first. It's technically, you were allowed to do it. It is always easiest to get rid of the number farthest away from your variable. So if you said 3f minus 24, the minus 24 is kind of far away from the f, while the 3 is right up next to it. So I can get rid of this minus 24 very easy by adding. Just add the 24 over. Okay, make sure you do it to both sides. These cancel. S plus 24 is not 24s. You are adding, and you cannot add them because they're not like terms. So it just stays s plus 24. That's all we can do here. Equals 3f. And now we can get rid of the 3. Now it's being multiplied. 3f means 3 times f. So we are going to divide by 3. And now both of these things have to be divided by 3. I like to just make a big old fraction bar, put a 3 under it, and call it a day there. So the 3's cancel over here. F by itself, let's write it one last time to make it nice and neat. F equals s plus 24 over 3. I am cool with this. I am cool with this as a final answer for me. I just want to give you guys a heads up for MathXL. It might want you to break this apart into two little mini fractions as s over 3 plus 24 over 3 equals f. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys were taught this in Algebra 1 or not. I sometimes say you kind of break this apart like a Kit Kat bar. Why would MathXL want you to do this? Because technically 24 over 3 can simplify. So s over 3 can't, but 24 over 3 is actually 8. So because there was technically still something to do, MathXL may or may not want you. I'm not 100% sure. It seems to kind of pick and choose when it cares about this. If this is a quiz or test, I would take that. Just know for MathXL, it might want you to go one step further to get this, s over 3 plus 8 business equals f. Okay, for MathXL, might want this. Okay, just a heads up. That's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.